I'm a racing fan. I will watch pigs race. That's atrocious. That is disgusting. I never want to see that again. I'm fed up, and you should probably turn this off. Hey everybody, it's RJ. We're back at RJ's Pit Stop here. It's been a couple weeks since I talked to y'all. The last race I did was Circuit of the Americas. Feels like that was a while ago. We had the Coke 600 that came and went. I was a little busy, didn't get time to do a pit stop. And then last week we had Sonoma, which was the worst race of the year that I've seen, so I didn't feel like doing a pit stop on it. But don't worry, we're back. Just got done watching the All-Star race. Not really going to do a race review on that. It's the same old story. Kyle Larson just won again. Another $1 million for Kyle Larson. Dude's on a roll. Don't really know what else I can say that hasn't already been said about Kyle Larson. But on this episode today, we're just going to do a little mid-season review. So usually the All-Star race isn't the halfway point of the season, but this one's pretty close, honestly. We're getting closer to the 4th of July, which is usually the midway point. But yeah, I thought it'd be fun to take a look back, look into the rearview mirror, and let's see what exactly 2021 has done for us so far. Of course, any kind of video talking about 2021, there's only one place to start, and it's who I mentioned about 5 seconds ago. Kyle Larson and this number 5 team for Hendrick Motorsports is on a tear that no one saw coming. Now, I'm going to sit there and say that no one saw this coming because if you saw this kind of dominance coming, you're lying. I am a huge Kyle Larson fan. I am a huge fan of Hendrick Motorsports. I have always believed Kyle Larson is one of the best pure race car drivers in NASCAR today. And Hendrick Motorsports is obviously the gold standard when it comes to NASCAR teams. So pairing these two together, I mean, this was going to be ridiculous. And I think everyone knew Kyle Larson was going to have a ton of success. But what he has done so far in 2021 isn't just success. It's almost suffocating. And, I mean, Kyle Busch said it, what was it, last week or during the Coke 600, I guess. We do have a problem. It's Hendrick Motorsports. That's our problem right now. Tonight, Brad Keselowski says, hey, to finish second to a Hendrick car feels like a win right now. The run that Kyle Larson and this Hendrick Motorsports team is on, it's ridiculous. And I called it back in the preseason video. I said Kyle Larson is going to be absolutely a handful. He's going to be tough to deal with. You're going to have to deal with him all year. But even me, someone that loves to bang the drum for Hendrick Motorsports being great and loves the fact that Kyle Larson is finally in some A1 equipment, even me, I did not think this kind of domination was going to happen. And this is still the first half of the season. I mean, this is still pretty fairly new for Larson. I mean, what have we run? Like 15 races so far, something like that? And the fact that he's dominating this much halfway through his season, it makes everyone else have to worry, are they going to get better the second half of the year? Because if they keep this up, no one's going to touch Kyle Larson, and he's absolutely going to cruise to his first championship. Now, with the playoffs being the way they are, with NASCAR being more like the other sports when it comes to the playoffs, anything can happen. And this year is going to be a perfect example of why the old format isn't any good. Last year we saw it too, with Kevin Harvick. He went out there, won 9 races, dominated, was just unbeatable. He would have locked the championship up and it would not have been a compelling end of season. But with the playoffs and with elimination and with it coming down to a Game 7 to end the season at Phoenix, anything can happen. So we can't go ahead and crown Kyle Larson the champion yet, but I just honestly right now, June, 13th, 14th, whatever today is, I don't really know how you're going to stop Kyle Larson. The guy has won on a 1.5 miles. The guy has won on a road course. He is now the All-Star race winner. The only flaw, or the only, problem you could find with this 5 team would be super speedway racing. Kyle Larson has never had much success at Daytona or Talladega. He just hasn't. So if you had to point at one thing where this team can get better, I would say that. But I think everyone knows when you're talking about super speedway racing, it's all luck. I mean, it's not like Kyle Larson can do something different. I mean, yeah, talent obviously is part of it. There's a reason Denny Hamlin is top 5 at every super speedway race. He knows what he's doing. But Kyle Larson, 9 times out of 10, gets caught up in someone else's mess. The good thing is there's only one super speedway race in the playoffs, and that's at Talladega. So really, you only have to deal with that 1 out of the 10 races. As it stands right now, Kyle Larson is on fire. I think it's great for NASCAR. I think it's a great comeback story. I know some people necessarily don't want to hear that, but it's great for the sport because this is the most talented driver, in my opinion, in the world right now. So for that to be your guy and the guy that is carrying the flag for the entire sport right now, I think it's great. I'm not sure how you stop him, but as we know, we've seen, anything can happen when we get to the playoffs. It wouldn't be a review or a midseason review if we didn't talk about some of the surprises and the disappointments so far in 2021. Let's start off on a good note. The biggest surprise for me in 2021 has been Chris Buescher. The run that this 17 team for Roush Fenway Racing is having, I didn't see it coming. Now, everybody wants Roush to get back to being one of those super teams like Hendrick and Gibbs. I know I do. I would love to see it. I don't dislike Ryan Newman or Chris Buescher. I think both of them are fine drivers. I think they're good. I don't think either one of them are championship caliber drivers, but Roush Fenway could be adding a championship caliber driver, and I'm going to talk about that later in the episode. But what we've seen from Chris Buescher so far, he's been very consistent. I think it was Homestead, where he was up there in the top 10 running real good, and everybody was like, whoa, what that's Chris Buescher. What is this? And that wasn't a fluke. He's been backing it up. If the season ended today, he would be in the playoffs. That is great for Roush Fenway. That is definitely something they've needed. That team has been behind others for the last few years. So this run that Chris Buescher has had so far this year, pleasant surprise, and I'm really glad to see it because I really like Chris Buescher. I think he's different from some of those big superstar drivers like Elliott and Blaney and Byron Bowman, some of those young guys. It's good to have a more rough around the edges guy. That's why I like Ross Chastain. That's why I like Chris Buescher. I think it's great for the sport, and the run that they're on right now definitely has surprised me. But of course, on the flip side of that means there has to be a disappointment. And I don't think anybody has disappointed more than Eric Almirola and that number 10 team for STEWART-HAAS Racing. Look, I like Eric Almirola a lot. He's from Tampa. I live in Tampa. I want to see him succeed. I think he's a good race car driver. I really do. And a lot of this, honestly, I'll be honest, he's my biggest disappointment for this year. But if we're being honest, I don't think it's all on him. The bad luck that Eric Almirola has had this year is absolutely unreal. I mean, if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. So I don't want to put this all on Eric Almirola. I don't want to put this all on Stewart-Haas and that 10 team, but they've got to get it together. I know they're sitting very low in points. They've had too many DNFs. They've had too many 30th place finishes. They're going to have to go out there and try to get a win. If their luck doesn't change, I'm not sure how this team is going to get a win. I think that's their only way into the playoffs, obviously. I think they've already established that. And I think this team knows that winning is basically their only way in. Now, those were individual drivers. I want to look at organizations. One, obviously, Hendrick Motorsports. I've said it time and time again. Y'all are probably tired of hearing it. Hendrick Motorsports will not stay down forever. The past few years has been dominated by Gibbs, Penske, and Stewart-Haas, but Hendrick Motorsports has officially said, we're back. And this young group of drivers that they have right now is going to carry them for the next 10 to 12 years, I believe. I don't think they need to make a driver change for at least another decade. What they are doing right now is insane. And again, I'm going to use this word again. It's suffocating for the rest of NASCAR. because Kyle Larson looks absolutely unbeatable. Chase Elliott is a threat every week. William Byron and the run that they have had this year, everyone knows William Byron is an absolute superstar in the making, and I think pairing him with his old crew chief Rudy Fugle is exactly what the doctor ordered, because they have been on a mission all year. They are top 10ing everyone to death. They are getting up there in the top 5, leading laps. This team is very impressive. And then the 48 car, Alex Bowman. They've got a couple wins already. They are very consistent. The organization as a whole is firing on all cylinders, and I mean that literally and figuratively. This team does not have a flaw right now. This is what Hendrick Motorsports should be. We all saw when Jeff Gordon dominated, when Jimmy Johnson dominated, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was running good. Mark Martin, remember that career resurgence he had in the 5 car, sponsored by GoDaddy? Career resurgence there. We all know this is what Hendrick Motorsports is supposed to look like, and what they have done this year is absolutely impressive. But again, just like the drivers, if someone's up, that means someone has to be down. And I mentioned the last few years, STEWART-HAAS Racing has been on absolute fire. Last year, Kevin Harvick won 9 races. He was unbeatable. Eric Almirola had some great runs, won a couple races. Clint Boyer was there. He was good. Let's keep it real. Nothing too special there. Cole Custer won a race last year. But so far in 2021, they are not living up to any of those expectations that they set for themselves. This team is down right now. Kevin Harvick is sitting there with 0 wins. This is a guy, look, I'm not worried about Kevin Harvick. They don't need to hit the panic button or anything like that. They are still running very well, getting top 10s. They're not really leading a lot of laps because Hendrick Motorsports is leading all those laps. But I'm not worried about Kevin Harvick. I'm not hitting the panic button on him or their season yet. Kevin Harvick's going to make the playoffs, and I think he knows you need to save the best for last, because last year he won 9 races in the regular season, didn't even make it to the championship race. So I think he understands what's going on right now. Yeah, it'd be nice if they could get bonus points right now, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the year, you have to run well in the playoffs. You're going to have to win races in the playoffs. You need to be consistent in the playoffs. February through June, yeah, it's nice to stockpile some bonus points to help bail you out if you have a bad run in the playoffs. But if you just do your job in the playoffs, you're fine. And I think Kevin Harvick knows that. The rest of the team, however, Cole Custer won a race last year, won Rookie of the Year, made the playoff, all that. He is not living up to his potential this season. His sophomore season has been less than impressive. He's had a couple good runs here and there, but overall, Cole Custer and that 41 team, they have a lot of work to do if they think they are going to continue this STEWART-HAAS dominance that they've had for the last few years. Eric Almirola, I've already hit on him earlier. They are having an absolute dreadful season. It's not all the 10. Like I said, the other cars aren't running well either. But Eric Almirola is absolutely having maybe the worst season that I've seen him have, because you have to take expectations into account. I'm sure he had some bad runs, when he was with Petty, or hell, you could even go back to when he was in the 8 car at DEI or Ganassi, whoever owned that car. But because of expectations, I can't think of a worse season I've seen Eric Almirola have than this season. Now, the guy who dominated the Busch Series last year, Xfinity Series, sorry, I'll get better about that. The guy who dominated the Xfinity Series last year, Chase Briscoe, he moves up to the Cup Series, takes Clint Boyer's ride. He's in the 14. I think a lot of people, including myself, were expecting some good things. Now, I wasn't expecting Chase Briscoe to come out, win a race, make the playoffs, anything like that. But man, he's got to be better than 28th every week. This team is awful right now. This team does not... A good day for them is to finish in the top 15. And that's not what STEWART-HAAS is looking for. Tony Stewart does not care about top 15s. You need to be up there in the top 10. You need to be leading laps. You need to be battling for wins. You need people to know that you were there. And so many times this year, I forgot Chase Briscoe was even in the Cup Series. This guy has been absolutely non-existent, and the 14 team has been dreadful ever since they unloaded in Daytona in February. Now, just like Hendrick Motorsports, I don't think STEWART-HAAS is going to stay down forever, but this year, they might just want to throw this whole year away and get ready for the new car next year and just see if they can bounce back. Now, I know we're only halfway through the season, but the silly season is absolutely on fire already. Usually it waits till later in the year. Usually we can get to about August, September before rumors start coming out. And by October, the rumors are swirling like crazy and we're starting to kind of figure things out. Well, it's June and the silly season, the hot stove, whatever you want to call it, the rumors are absolutely on fire. And this, honestly, is the biggest reason why I wanted to do this midseason review, because we got to go over it because I think I've missed it, and I don't think I've talked about any of it on any of the pit stops. We got to start with the big ones. 2311 looks like they are going to expand to a second car for next year. I think everyone knew that was potentially the case. I think they just wanted to get this first season under their belts with Bubba. I think next year they're going to be more comfortable with the new car. They want to have a second car out there, and they want to become a major player in NASCAR. What I did not expect, however, is right now, Kurt Busch, driver at Chip Ganassi Racing, Kurt Busch seems to be the leading candidate to go to 2311 and get in a second car for them. I did not see that coming. That was an absolute shocker to me when I heard that. Now, again, nothing's official. Obviously nothing's been signed or anything like that. But the fact that it's even a rumor that Kurt Busch could be going to 2311, that's a huge deal. If 2311 could go get an established veteran driver, a good one, who is a former champion and is still a threat to win races today, if you can land him, I think that is huge for 2311 and that organization moving forward. Now, I'll be honest. I definitely thought they were going to add a second car for next year, but I thought this was going to be basically just a satellite operation for Joe Gibbs, and I figured Joe Gibbs would want Harrison Burton to be the second driver at 2311. Now, nothing confirmed, anything like that, obviously. It could still be Harrison Burton if they decide to add a second car like everyone thinks. That made the most sense to me, because right now NASCAR has a rule where you can only have 4 cars on your team. Well, if you look at Joe Gibbs, you're not getting rid of Denny Hamlin, obviously. You're definitely not getting rid of Kyle Busch. You're not getting rid of Martin Truex. And Christopher Bell is a future superstar. The guy's already a stud, but he's going to win a championship, maybe 2. You can't get rid of any of those guys. That being said, you do have young drivers like Harrison Burton and like Ty Gibbs, who, out of nowhere, I wasn't even going to mention him in this video. Ty Gibbs, Joe Gibbs' grandson, oh my God, where did he come from? This kid is unreal. He is on fire. I would absolutely expect him to have a full-time Xfinity ride next year, and he'll be in the Cup Series before you know it. But anyway, Joe Gibbs obviously isn't getting rid of any one of those 4 Cup drivers. So if you're going to move Harrison Burton up, where are you going to move him? You don't have a spot for him. We can put him over here at 2311, since we supplied them with all the Toyotas. We are the Toyota team, and we helped them out quite a bit. We can put Harrison Burton in there. Pretty much what they did with Levine Family Racing, putting Christopher Bell in that car for a year. Pretty much what they did with Eric Jones, putting him in the 77. They need a spot to groom a kid before they bring him to Joe Gibbs Racing. I think Harrison Burton is the obvious choice for 2311, but Kurt Busch and the fact that his name is being thrown around, that's huge. If Kurt Busch does leave and go there, that will obviously open up a hole at Chip Ganassi. Now, who's going to go there? I don't know of any any obvious Chevrolet drivers that I think are going to make the jump to the Cup Series. There's one, I would say Noah Gragson, but I'm about to get to that in a minute. Junior Motorsports looks like they want to have a Cup team next year. And if they do, who are they going to bring? Why not just bring Noah Gragson up? That makes the most sense. So Chip Ganassi is kind of in a tough spot right now. I personally, if Kurt Busch goes to 2311, I'm going to predict that Chip Ganassi has Ryan Newman in the 1 car next year. Now, why Ryan Newman? Because this next bomb that was dropped on us a couple weeks ago, Brad Keselowski is looking to leave Team Penske, go to Roush Fenway, become a part owner and a driver. What? That came out of nowhere. I mean, Look, we know Brad Keselowski is a smart guy. He owned his own truck team there for a while. I think ownership is something that he's definitely interested in. But a couple weeks ago when I heard this, I was just like, well, where did this come from? Team Penske's one of the best teams. Brad's one of the best drivers. This is a championship contender every year. This guy's going to pack up and go to Roush Fenway, become a part owner and a driver? I love this. And this, to me, sounds like it's already a done deal because nobody at Roush will comment on it. And a couple weeks ago, some reporters asked Brad Keselowski about this, and his response was, when I can tell you what I'm doing, I'll tell you. That, to me, says, hey, it's pretty much a done deal, but we're still getting the sponsors and we're still getting everything all figured out. But I believe that's pretty much a done deal. I cannot express to y'all enough how much I love this move. Brad Keselowski, I mentioned his ownership, Truck Series. He wants to be a team owner. But what I love the most about this move is Roush Fenway has been down since Carl Edwards left. And I don't know, 2011, 2012, whenever it was. Since Carl Edwards left, Roush Fenway Racing has honestly not been relevant. I mentioned, Ricky Stenhouse won a couple races for them in the 17. Chris Buescher's running well this year. But this team really has not competed for many wins, and they've kind of been irrelevant. If Brad Keselowski goes there, that is absolutely going to raise the bar for that entire organization, and I think this is a no-brainer, an amazing move. The one thing about this, if Brad goes, he's not starting a third team. He would take Ryan Newman's spot, which is why I believe Ryan Newman goes to Ganassi, takes Kurt Busch's ride. Now, who fills Brad Keselowski's spot at Penske? Some people might think, Matt DiBenedetto, because we know Austin Cindric's going to be at the Wood Brothers next year. Well, that was before we got this little bit of news about Brad leaving. I think, now that 2-car being open, I think that's Austin Cindric's car. I think you can go ahead and get him fitted for a seat and go ahead and slap a 2 on him. I think Austin Cindric is absolutely going to be the driver of the number 2 car next year. I think this is a no-brainer. I think it makes the most sense. As much as I would love to see Matt DiBenedetto in that 2 car, why would you move Matty D from Wood Brothers to the 2 car and then put Cindric in the Wood Brothers car when you could just leave Matty D at Wood Brothers, which I believe may happen. You can put Austin Cindric in the 2 car. Now, if you're Roger Penske, you've got everything you want. You got Ryan Blaney, you got Joey Logano, super young. Austin Cindric, super young also. You can now compete with Hendrick Motorsports as a team that really doesn't need to change their driver lineup for the next 10 to 12 years. You also still have that alliance with the Wood Brothers. If you have another guy out in the stable that we don't really know about, put him in there. But I think everybody loves Matt DiBenedetto. The guy won the fan vote today. Nobody wants to see Matt DiBenedetto get screwed. I would love if he got to stay at the Wood Brothers and stay in that 21. I think that would be great for the Wood Brothers. It'd be great for NASCAR, for the Wood Brothers to have a solid driver. I think that's the move for Penske now. Austin Cindric goes to the 2 car. I mentioned 2311 might be expanding to 2 cars. That might not be the only one. Trackhouse Racing, owned by Justin Marks and Pit Bull, Mr. Worldwide. They are out there with the 99 car with Daniel Suarez, which honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, they probably could have been my biggest surprise for this year because that team has absolutely surprised me. They have exceeded expectations already. They looked like they were going to win the dirt race at Bristol a couple months ago. So this team has performed very well. They are looking to potentially add a second ride. Now, I think Kurt Busch could end up there because it's Chevy. He stays with the same manufacturer. I think that one makes the most sense to me. I still think moving Harrison Burton to 2311. I think Kurt Busch going to Trackhouse, staying with the Chevys. I think all of that makes the most sense. But honestly, this team expanding and maybe getting a second car, this is big time news also. We're going to run out of charters here pretty soon. As long as NASCAR has the charter system where you have to have a charter to be locked into a race, well, I don't know how many are for sale, if any. There might not be any charters for sale. We're looking at you, Rick Way Racing. You need to sell some charters. I don't know how many of them are for sale, but 2311 might be wanting one. Trackhouse might be wanting one. And now, Junior Motorsports and Colleague Racing from the Busch Series, Xfinity, my bad, both of those teams look like they want to make the jump to the Cup Series. Now, if Colleague Racing does make that jump, I think Justin Haley has to be on that short list, but I also think A.J. Allmendinger is probably the leader in the clubhouse because of how many road courses are on the Cup Series schedule. Me personally, I want to see Justin Haley get that nod. He's been with Colleague for a while. He's had a lot of success in the Xfinity Series. I think it would be cool to reward him with a Cup ride in a legitimate team because I think they'll be legit if they move up. Junior Motorsports, on the other hand, if they move up, I think you're looking at a situation like 2311 is with Gibbs. I think Junior will be that way with Hendrick Motorsports. It's going to be a satellite team, and I do think Rick Hendrick will have a big say in who ends up in that car. Ultimately, it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s decision, and Kelly and everyone at Junior Motorsports. I still think Noah Gragson makes the most sense there. He's very consistent in the Xfinity Series. He looks like he needs to move up. This season has not been the best for Noah Gragson. To me, he looks a little stale. He looks a little complacent. Bump him on up to the Cup Series, and let's see what he's got. I want to see it. We got a long way to go before we can really start to put some of those puzzle pieces together and figure out what the driver-team combinations are going to be for next season. But what we can do, halfway through this season, we can go ahead and make a prediction on who we think is going to be in the Final Four in Phoenix at the end of the year. Look, we're going to take the low-hanging fruit first. Kyle Larson will be in the Final Four at Phoenix. It would take a meltdown, which we saw it happen to Harvick last year. Anything can happen. But I do think Kyle Larson will make it to Phoenix, and he will be one of the championship four. Joining him, I do believe he will have Chase Elliott, a teammate. Chase Elliott will be back into the Final Four this year. This team is very good. They are good on all kinds of tracks, not just road courses. Chase Elliott is the biggest star in the sport. We need him in the championship race because that's good for the sport. I think it'll happen. I think we will see him there. My third car that I'm going to put in the playoff, or for the championship, is Kyle Busch. And this is a little iffy for me because he seems like he hasn't been happy with his race car in like 3 years. Honestly, I don't know the last time Kyle Busch had a good race car that he wasn't bitching and complaining about. I really don't know. So I know he complains a lot anyway, but there are some problems there with the cars that they're bringing to the racetrack. Ultimately, I do think they'll get it fixed. I think Kyle Busch is going to win a couple more races this year, and I think he will be in the championship four. Now, joining those three, I would love to put Ryan Blaney in. That's my guy. I want him to take that next step and do what Chase did last year. But that team right now is just not good enough. Maybe they're saving it for the second half of the year. I hope that's the case. But as of right now, I can't put Blaney in the Final Four. Could be Keselowski. Could be Logano. Could be Truex. Could be Hamlin. Is Harvick going to get hot? I'm going to say no to all of those. I think the fourth and final car in the championship four is going to come from the Hendrick Motorsports organization, and it's going to be William Byron. I mentioned the pairing of him and Rudy Fugle, who he already has a history with in the Truck Series. It's been absolute money. And this team has been so good every single week. I mean, they had a streak of, 10 or 11 top 10s in a row? They already have a win at Homestead. They were very good tonight in the All-Star race. I thought they had a chance to win $1 million. I think William Byron is going to keep riding this momentum he's had all year, and I think this team is going to be in the championship four. Now, that's 3 Hendrick cars and a Gibbs car. Saw it a couple years ago, 3 Gibbs cars and Kevin Harvick made it. I do think we'll see it again this year. Now, as far as my prediction as who's going to win the championship, right now I'm going to have to go with none other than